name is Mariam Hassan, and I work as a communication professional at Giza Systems Foundation. I am so happy to be here. First and foremost, let me introduce you to Giza Systems Foundation. We are an NGO, and we utilize technology to empower and enhance the lives of the marginalized communities. And we want to give a special thanks to the federal federations of the Egyptian institutions for giving us this opportunity and for always supporting us. So thank you. And now let's talk about our special panelist today. We have someone who actually worked for GE Systems Foundation as our executive director, Mohammed El Husari. Mohammed Husari is an engineer and a passionate entrepreneur who cares about empowering other marginalized communities as well as having an impact in the community. He is the founder of Pend, which is the digital, which is a blockchain platform based in Dubai. And we have another panelist who is actually a doctor but left the medical field to persuade his dream and now operates Scarabaeus Saucer. And what Scarabaeus Saucer does is produce ethically and eco-friendly fashion, which also is integrated in their business along with the social and mental well-being aspect. So if I would like to start with our panelists, if you can briefly talk about what blockchain is, but in your own terminologies.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Uh, Thank you for the introduction, first of all. And in fact, I've been participating also with Visa Foundation on the executive committee level. In terms of blockchain, I was actually talking with Ali about why sometimes talking about the technology itself is misleading. So I'll try to make it as simple as possible. Think of blockchain as the next version of machines that instead of machines does not communicate together, they actually do communicate together and trust each other without the need of a human being. So think, I will just state few words. So it trust. So they trust each other, and it enables any human to trust. It ownership. So it actually allow every machine to own actual data instead of uh, now it's not existent in Web 2 or in non-blockchain technology. And communication. It facilitates communication and collaboration. So it's a new technology that help people build new applications that was not existent before the use of blockchain.
And Ali, if you could also give us a brief introduction.
Okay, sure. So first, thank you, Mariam, for the introduction. It was very nice. And thank you for inviting us, Giza Systems and partners. It's very nice to be on this panel. So like you said, I just want to talk a little bit about the brand and how it ties into blockchain and why it's relevant for us from that angle. Like Hosari said, like the technical terms and jargon is not going to probably add to what I'm going to say now. So I'll just get into it ala tool. So basically, Scarabaeus Saucer is a homegrown, sustainable, ethical streetwear brand based in Egypt, and we advocate for social causes and environmental causes with the artwork and designs that we do. And we have a sustainable supply chain as much as we can. We produce organic Egyptian cotton, and that part is very relevant to blockchain and tracing our supply chain and all of that. And we also do upcycled clothing and using recycled and recyclable materials as well. So the idea of blockchain from our angle is just a tool. It's not very deep from our angle. It's a tool that we will be using to show, to trace basically our entire supply chain from seed to closet, from the agricultural side all the way to the closet of the consumer, wherever they are, whether in Egypt or abroad, because we also sell our stuff out of Egypt. So having a very clear picture of the entire supply chain, showing the consumer or the person who's buying our product exactly what goes behind the scenes for them to receive a t-shirt or a hoodie or whatever product they receive in a manner that's just transparent and honest without tweaking the data, without changing the data, or someone owning this data so they can delete it at any point. So that's from our angle, that was very appealing. For our consumers, it's very appealing, and that's why we adopted this and we're trying to launch it soon. Yeah.
So following up on what you were saying, how is traceability vital for your end consumer?
Traceability is crucial today for the consumers of today. Our product is a bit pricey as well, and the Western consumer or the consumers out of Egypt really value it, but they care about what happens behind the scenes in the factories, what happens on the farms where you produce, what happens for the packaging and that phase, all the way to when it travels. So if you have children working in your supply chain, that's a problem. The working conditions is crucial for the consumer to know they're not harming people, or you're working in sweatshops or doing things like all the big fast fashion brands that we know in the world. So all of that, and also the impact on the environment from the dyeing processes to every single step, the ginning, this and that. So they just want to see that you are trying to, you don't have to be perfect because it's taking a snapshot of the real life model, and not it's not never going to be perfect, but it's just an indicator of this is how it is today and this is where we want to take it in the future. So this is exactly what people care about. And in other countries like the EU, there's even policies at the moment that require you to have full transparency and traceability to your supply chain with all the certifications that come with that, or they're not even going to let your products into the EU. That's happening in 2030, which is in what, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years. So it's very, very soon. And we want to be pioneers from the MENA region on and getting on that and doing it correctly from the beginning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hosari, I wanted to know, um, you founded Pend, and it revolves around blockchain. So, what impact or how does it improve the processes of any industry that you've worked in?
Okay, great question. Actually, I want to get into why did we start Pen from the first place? Because we believe that blockchain technology can impact many industries and can fill some of the gaps that was not possible before blockchain technology. And I'll talk specifically on let's say the fashion industry, and how traceability is very important for governments and consumers to know the humane aspects in fabrication, to know the material and everything. But we believe blockchain can actually enhance the connection, or connect the users back to their actual products by also documenting the story behind the product in a trustworthy manner. So, adding on top of tracking the material, tracking the process, also attaching the user with the actual product, that will make them responsible consumers, right? So instead of buying a shirt and using it for 10 times, you will use it for life because you know the exact story that this shirt has been through. So this is what we think blockchain can be introduced to many different industries, from the sole aspect of enhance solving real pains that has been happening because of industrialization. So we talk about pains like polarization of wealth. We talk pains like anxiety. We talk pains like disconnectivity. So we believe blockchain can tackle many industries from the angle of enhancing trust, like I said before, and connecting people more to each other, the governments, and their products.
Perfect. So I'd like to ask a question regarding different entities, NGOs, or even the corporate side. They focus on the M&E, the monitoring and evaluation. How does blockchain play a role in establishing that M&E process?
Sure. So allow me to give you a brief. I'm sure you know. So I'll give everybody a brief about Giza Systems Foundation. So in the foundation, we focus on sustainability from different aspects. I know sustainability has been discussed many times in different narratives and different definitions, but I'll define sustainability as we define in the foundation sustainability as the social sustainability, sustainability of the human aspect of any project, technical sustainability, sustainability of the know-how, and the engineering aspect of any project, and financial sustainability, which of course has a lot of cost, not only money but cost aspect in it. So part of what we do to make sure that all the sustainability aspects are in place is actually tracking everything, uh, or our indicators, setting up KPIs, setting up indicators to make sure that our positive impact is more than our negative impact. That's the whole point, right? We're NGO. We thrive to create impact. So we measure both the positive things and the negative things. When it comes to measuring impact, it's very tricky because you kind of measure impact from different levels, from the beneficiary themselves, from the ground, and from the operation, the employees. So you can have some emotional attachment, so it can be skewed when you measure it a normal way. Sometimes it can be lost in memory if it's not documented right away, and sometimes bad actors can screw the results to make it seem that they did more impact than they actually do. So how blockchain can help in that is, as I said before, blockchain enhances trust, right? So using blockchain in the M&E process will not only give the board and the donor and the key players in the foundation, including the regulators, direct access to specific feedback from the ground and specific indicators, for example, like the farms, but will also document every single collection of an indicator in a tamper-proof manner. You can change it in a timestamped manner, and this is very important in your sector for sure, and in uh, a manner that you can trust the confidence of the information given. So we've been experimenting this in the foundation with other public entities, but we believe blockchain can enhance the way we collect data and do our M&E or monitoring and evaluation.
So my next question is, since this all these processes involves people accepting the blockchain and having trust in the system, where are the people in the MENA region? How is their focus or their acceptance towards blockchain?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I just want to comment on what he said as well. So, for us as well, like it's sustainability is people, planet, and profit, and that's the three elements in a simplified manner. So for us, the people that are behind everything and to sustain their lives and have a dignified life, and the planet, of course, the impact you have on the environment very specifically, and profitability, because if it's not a profitable business, especially in our sector, because we're a business, then it's useless. No matter what you do, it's going to be effort that's not going to impact anyone in the end, because you're not going to sustain your business model in the next few years. So all three elements are equally important, but the impact has a much bigger role in our type of business than others, and that's why this whole blockchain traceability, all of that is actually extremely important for us, because also the fashion industry is one of the most polluting industries on the planet. It's the impact is horrific, and we need to do something about that. And this is actually a useful tool to do that. What was your question again, Rada?
Yeah, my question was, um, how are the people of the MENA region
Yeah.
acceptance towards blockchain?
So yeah, I also worked in the UN for a very long time. I worked for many agencies, and the whole M&E system was a very important part of our work. I was in charge of a lot of projects related to nutrition, to migration, to human trafficking, to a lot of things. Some of them are very sensitive topics, so maybe having a something that's very transparent would not be useful. It's sensitive information, but others it would be actually extremely useful. But providing that all the stakeholders involved would be okay with actually sharing the real, transparent, on the ground things that are happening on the ground in their projects and programs. Some of the partners might not be very open to share exactly what's happening on the ground. So it would be, I think, a challenge in applying this in not only in the MENA region, but I think in lots of parts of the world where the impact is not as much as what's marketed or what's claimed by a lot of these agencies or donors or governments even. But yeah, so that's from that angle. From the consumer angle in the Middle East, North Africa, unfortunately, the consumer doesn't care at all about what goes behind the brand, as long as it looks good, as long as it's good quality, as long as they can show off the brand or whatever they're wearing, as it's a flashy, expensive brand. They want to show status. We are still at a very primitive stage in the Middle East, but there's glimpses of hope. There's some people who started to care about the topic, and it's evident. Being in COP27 shows that there's a lot of interest, both economic interest and from the consumer side as well. They at least want to know more. The purchasing decision and willingness to pay maybe is not there yet, but I really think it's going in the right direction, but we're still lagging behind other parts of the world.
Hussein, if you want to add on.
Yeah, actually, something came in mind when we talk about awareness. And ants. So ants is an earning by learning project that incentivize youth to learn new subjects by giving them money. So usually people pay money to learn, right? But our methodology is different. We believe that if you actually incentivize people to learn, they will learn faster, and it happened. We actually these youth make digital transformation projects for mega companies, for a lot of NGOs and a lot of companies. What we learned from ants that the incentive based model in our day and age is different than before. Uh, Going back to what you said about the awareness aspect and consumers in the Middle East, through Pend, we believe that bringing blockchain into the game of fashion, for example, or recycling, while giving an incentive for the actual uh, user to be conscious, will enhance the awareness. So instead of going and telling them, "Oh, you should be good because the planet would be good," we actually, like what I saw in Abu Dhabi. They have this uh, machines where you put recyclable material and you get points and you get discounts all over the UAE, right? So, what blockchain can help not only in the traceability and making sure things are accurate, but also in providing incentives for the mass public or the masses to contribute in sustainability issues and contribute in governing the commons, for example, and making sure everything that is not directly related to them is good by providing incentives backed by community contribution.
So, can you give an example relating to the incentives that Penn has used to gather community? Because based on my understanding is that it's very important that blockchain is built because of the communities. So, if you can tackle the issue where what are the incentives that Penn has discovered or used, and how are the community's response toward these incentives?
Very great. So I'll give you a couple of examples. One related to what we're talking about in fashion. So we're working with a couple of initiatives, including Scarabaeus, i- in giving digital assets for conscious consumers. What we know, but the consumers, other than the people who are watching and the people who are here, will know, is we are planning to provide utility and perks and rewards for these users in the future. So you buy a recyclable fashion item, or you buy, or you actually contribute in saving greenhouse gas and buying a specific product. You buy just buy the product and you take this digital asset. People call it NFT, right? And you don't know what's the value of it unless it's a credit, like the carbon credit. But you don't know what you can. It's not an incentive yet. You just bought the product. Later on, we will invite these conscious consumers to VIP events. We will provide discounts from conscious businesses specifically to the digital asset holders. So later on, others. So these are the early adopters, the conscious consumers. Later on, others will figure this out and becomes opportunity for anybody who wants to get discounts, right? Or get even make money in some cases, and they will actually go buy the product. Partially because they're conscious, but mostly because they want the actual reward, or mostly because they're conscious. But what gets you out of the couch and go to the website or go to the store and buy the product is the extra incentive that you get a Netflix subscription for free, right? Or you get a discount in a pharmacy or whatever. So this is one example directly related to what we're talking about. Another example that is super interesting, but it's not very related to what we're talking about, but it actually highlights how incentive can work is in the sports industry. We work with a lot of sports players in the Middle East to incentivize their users to perform specific tasks, and they get rewards based on it. So people actually run more now, right? And they walk more, and they attend more of the games, basketball games, and to get the rewards. So they love the club, right? But they don't go to watch a small basketball game. But now they go to get some extra incentives from the coffee shop or whatever.
That's actually amazing. Ali, I have a question. Um, how is the fashion industry and blockchain? Where does one align with the other?
It's the same like he was saying as well. So how you create these tokens and you create these incentives for a lot of people to follow and understand what's happening behind the scenes as well, and also in the end we're a business as well in fashion. So you want people to buy your product as well. But the problem also for us as an ethical and sustainable business, we want more the people that actually care about the values that we care about, more than the people who want the discounts or the benefits that come with it as much as we can. Or we educate people to be able to understand what's happening and they make these conscious decisions when they're buying the products. For example, us as a brand, we are against and we're officially against Black Friday. We do not believe in incentivizing people and decreasing our doing 50, 70% or any of that. We don't do any discounts because we don't believe that should be the drive behind it. It's a conscious business. You're buying it because of the impact on people, planet, and we are making a business make profit so we can continue doing what we're doing and helping others doing the process. But we still want other people to join this and eventually understand our values. So using it, like he said, like Hosari said, in the NFT section, giving some incentives. That's also important to bring people who don't care at all about what we're talking about and they only care about profit or getting material gains. So it's a crucial tool. How it will evolve is still not clear, especially in our sector of sustainable, ethical, responsible fashion. It's still a wait and see, but we want to get into it, understand it by actually applying it, and then we'll see what happens after.
Thank you. Have you guys seen any industry or specific brand that utilized blockchain recently and they've boomed and they've gained a lot of attraction?
You want to go?
Yeah, a lot of them, but actually the most brand that benefited from blockchain in the recent trend is Nike. So what they did is actually they produced the NFT collection for their users, and I don't remember the exact number of sales, but I think it's 137 million dollars of primary sales, and around $1 billion of secondary sales. Um, and they were able to capture their consumers by actually giving them part of their brand. So when you buy a Nike NFT, what you feel is you actually own part of the brand, and this is the psychological aspect of what Nike has targeted. And they just launched a couple of days ago their own marketplace where actually consumers who like the brand can interact using their digital asset. This is the biggest one, but there's thousands and thousands of brands that are working on this, either published or not. And the very important trend is now brands are registering Web3 trademarks in fashion. So they know this is the future, but they don't know how to use it,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
like many brands. So they're trying to register their name.
Yeah, I just want to add something on this as well. Is that there's a huge problem of greenwashing as well, whether it's fashion or in other industries. So the idea of trying to show that you're green and you're doing things properly and masking certain things and hiding certain things and showing it in a certain way, that's also an incentive to apply blockchain technology and things to show that some people are serious about it, some people are just pretending and just trying to show a certain image, and huge fast fashion brands are pretending to have sustainable and conscious lines and doing things in a certain way, but they are squeezing the manufacturers. Like in our part of the world, they're squeezing people and giving them horrible prices, but and they're taking the premium that they are selling, they sell with double or triple the price, the conscious lines or whatever, but they squeeze the manufacturers, the suppliers, and they ask them to have fair trade practices and have certifications and have all of that, but they're not willing to pay that transition into that. So having this tool would also limit a lot of this greenwashing as well. And also the idea of being called on your practices that are horrible like this made a lot of people who are actually doing good work stop talking about or publicizing their work because of the fear of the backlash if they do something wrong. So now it's called green hushing as well, which is very interesting because they just shut. We're not going to talk about our sustainable practices, but they're still good businesses and they're trying to do a good job. So this really, I think it's going to be a game changer if it's done properly. This blockchain.
So again, going back to the end
Yeah.
consumers, um, they're more aware. They have access to the internet. They can research. So why hasn't more organization or entities or companies changed their practices? Because right now, if we look around us, people are opposing fast fashion. People are understanding the pollution that fast fashion creates. So where do you think that gap
The gap is
happens?
it's all about money in the end and profit. These fast fashion brands like Nike or other huge companies, they're making billions and billions of dollars doing a business model that has been working for ages. The impact on the environment was not a thing in the past. Impact on people was never a thing. It started to spark in 2013 when their sweatshops collapsed on the workers and the horrible working conditions in Bangladesh in Rana Plaza, and then a huge movement called Fashion Revolution started in 92 countries now to pressure these industries all over the world to try to change their policies and put some pressure on them. But the reality is they are much stronger. They're not transparent with their practices in most cases, especially fast fashion. They greenwash, they trick people, and the incentive is not big enough because also all these conscious consumers, what's the percentage of them on compared to the other people who are consistently buying fast fashion, buying Shein or these huge extra fast fashion brands that are out there. So the thing is, it has to come from top down. Unfortunately, it's not going to be consumer driven, in my opinion, because unless there's policies that put taxation on these huge fast fashion companies and make it more difficult for them to make profit, unless there's also incentives, tax incentives for small green businesses that allow them to sustain themselves and grow, we will never go anywhere. So that's a huge problem that has to be systemically dealt with. But they are too powerful, and governments are basically too scared to stop them or stand in their way to stop all this profit they're doing. The other thing is these fast fashion brands and big brands also they pay into huge funds to try to basically clean their sins. So you cannot attack them anymore because I'm paying for this charter, the UN charter. I'm paying $10 billion. So what's your problem? Why are you attacking me now? I'm doing that, but at the same time, they're increasing their carbon emissions by 70% every year, even though the Paris Agreement and all the COPs have told them this is unacceptable. But this is the reality of the world, and then it has to make sense economically for them to be able to make this shift. Unless it's going to happen from the money perspective, all of the efforts of talking about the climate, the environment, the people is not enough for big business, in my opinion. But for consumers, you can convert a few consumers, but it's never going to be enough to change the business model.
So why go for blockchain? What is special or unique about blockchain that we believe that it could actually tackle these issues?
عايز تقول انت بقى.
I have a point related to blockchain specifically on this point. We believe it's a matter of consumer behavior. So, why are these companies not pressured enough? Because the consumers doesn't really care, and who cares from these consumers doesn't really trust the other consumers. So I can be conscious, but if not all of us became conscious, then my impact is worthless. What blockchain can bring to the table here is providing a layer of trust, providing a proof that others are doing it, others are being conscious. So it's like the ripples effect, right? So you start with a small community, like what happened in all these initiatives. And but blockchain is transparent, so it will make me trust that you are doing this and they are doing this and others are doing this. So it makes it it kind of slowly change the consumer behavior, adding on top of it the incentive based model that we were talking about uh, a while ago. But it will take time. So behaviors take time. I can be conscious for a while and then I get distracted with my life. So we believe what we're doing at Penn, and we believe that we should slowly but surely work on incentivizing consumers to do the right thing, and then they will see the benefit of it, and others will see the benefit of it, and then when they will join, all connected with blockchain, which enhances the trust. And if you know the prisoner's dilemma aspect, uh, we never, I can never know if you'll do the right thing. We can agree on it right now, but there's always a bad actor in the game, and this bad actor is kind of contagious. It allows everybody else to think, if he didn't do it, I won't do it. But blockchain, in our humble opinion, solve this issue.
Is there anything that Pand has faced and utilized technology, whether it's to other
Can
entities
I
or
just add
jobs?
something to that because it's very relevant to what he was saying as well. So I think also blockchain can add, and especially in the fashion industry, like when people saw the imagery and the videos of the polar bear that was with the plastic and in the seas and what happens to the fish and all of that. When you visually also can see the impact that we are doing, behavior is going to change much faster. Blockchain, you can take a snapshot, a video, a picture, and show the reality as well of the entire supply chain and the horrible effects it has. Because a lot of people, from the even extraction of plastic from petrochemicals and oil and even from coal, they make yarn and things from coal at the moment. So unless you see it with your own eyes, you see the glamorous flashy designers and catwalks and fashion weeks, and you look at that stuff, you would never imagine how horrible that is. And also we've seen also a virtual reality tool that has been used before for this. You even walk into a place where it smells horrible because it's trying to replicate the conditions of a sweatshop. You step into water because that's how they do the dyeing and the inks and everything, and it smells horrific. So feeling and touching, seeing with your own eyes is definitely more possible to convert you and understand the realities rather than see only an image or just hear someone saying it has a bad impact on the environment. Who cares? But if you smell, feel, and touch it, and blockchain could be an amazing tool along with virtual reality tools and technology and augmented reality. These are amazing tools that can actually change consumer behavior. It's not even studied enough, but I think it will really change things. Yeah.
That's amazing. So, building up on that, where do you see blockchain in 5 years in Egypt and in Dubai?
And about Dubai.
The space is moving really, really fast, so it's almost impossible to visualize what will happen in the next 5 years. But um, allow me to give you a brief on the development of blockchain applications throughout the past 5 years. So blockchain is not an ancient technology, but it's been there for a while. People didn't find many use cases for it until the birth of Bitcoin. I'm sure you heard about Bitcoin. Many of you know Bitcoin, right? In 2011, and then this was the only real application, the store of value aspect of it, in a decentralized manner that kicked off in blockchain, and this was in 2011. Fast forward, um, I want to say the real application after that is 2017, 2018. We start seeing supply chain using it, led by the Linux Foundation, if you remember, and all the supply chain use cases started using it. Fast forward post COVID and 2020, all the applications you see right now is the outcome of the past 2 years. All the DeFi, NFT, the digital assets in fashion, and all these applications just were built and marketed in 2 years. So if we think 5 years in the future, I think it's the fight. I don't know about fight, but the battle of consciousness. So if many of us are conscious enough to start building and using blockchain applications, then you'll see exponential growth, and you'll see it disrupt many industries, like what you saw in the innovation zone with the climate change the token and the rainforest, the virtual reality one that you're talking about. But if the main players were overwhelmed or burned out really quickly, then you will be in COP 32, sitting here talking about the same exact topics and trying to win the battle. But I think it's the matter of mass consumer choice. But I
Yeah.
can see it go exponentially, really fast in 2 to 3 years if some good actors started adopting it.
But then you have critics who say blockchain or the cryptocurrency is just a trend and it's going to fade. Based on your work, the impact that you've created, how could you debunk this theory or claim?
I don't think it's gonna fade. In my personal opinion, I think it's gonna evolve. It's at an early stage in certain aspects, and it's developed in other aspects. Like the cryptocurrency is a different ball game than blockchain per se. It's not exactly the same. It's a different development, or it's gonna evolve differently. But I think it will evolve, and it will be a very useful tool. Whether it's gonna stay named blockchain or they're gonna change it into augmented reality chain, whatever it's going to be, I think it's going to be very useful because unless you see what goes behind everything that you're consuming, it will be very difficult to convince the next generations of anything that you're trying to sell them. It will be almost impossible. So if businesses don't adapt, which I really doubt, because businesses are smart, they want to make money, and that's your consumer. He looks different than the 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old guy that you're dealing with. So you really have to adapt if you're going to make money in this world. It doesn't have to be the same margins, but you will definitely make money if you understand your consumer and what goes behind it. So this will definitely increase with the metaverse and other aspects as well that are being promoted and pushed. It's going to be much more. But in our field, I think in fashion, it's still going to depend on touching the fabric, understanding the product, looking at it, as well as the story behind, like you said, and what goes into it. But you still need to feel good in the clothes. You want to look cool. You want to look, have a status. You want to show your personality through the clothes you're wearing. So it cannot be only on metaverse. That's just one aspect. And mostly rich people or people who are very affluent will have to buy clothes and wear clothes and do that. They will not only depend on the metaverse, which I think the people who are not as comfortable financially could want it for it to fantasize about owning a Prada bag online. Or so I think it's gonna it's gonna take time to fully evolve when it comes to fashion. But other fields, it could be actually extremely useful when it comes to coffee beans and what goes into avocados and all the drama that happens when it's agriculture. There's so many ways where you can use this that people need to see this and understand the depth of the problem. So I think it's going to get bigger and bigger in maybe in a different way.
Perfect. My next question would be, it's important to know that blockchain is built on decentralization. If you can please briefly explain to the audience what is decentralization and how that equals sustainability.
Okay, in simple terms, decentralization has been here uh, throughout the ages, right? So all of us in two families collected some money together to buy a specific item, right? I don't have money. Each of us chip $10 every single day.
جمعية.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we every single month somebody take the whole the money. This is decentralization. In fact, one of the banks, I think Bank Mosque, was actually built on a decentralized crowdsourcing from the people of Egypt, right? So decentralization is the idea of people trusting each other, working together without a central authority organizing the uh, process. So centralization is actually like having a government or a bank, and this bank give you a loan. So they take all our money and then they decide to split it in different ways. Decentralization is all of us coming together and deciding we will do this as without a bank. So this is the idea of decentralization in very simple terms.
Okay, so now that means that having a community is very important to have the blockchain develop and evolve. So I understand that you've used the incentive methodology. Have you used any other kind of methodology to grow that community or to build that awareness or the brand awareness for Pen?
So so in our experience, communities evolve around two things: either a special interest, so fan clubs, um, a cause, or a brand, or incentive. In our, at least in our experience. So if you have a community that likes a specific person or values as a specific role model, then voila, you have a traction that you can build on top of, but just by creating a decentralized system in between them and make them feel that they own this community in some way or another, like what we're trying to do in many projects. But if this is not existent and you're trying to build a community from scratch, we didn't succeed in traditional ways other than incentive. We believe incentive is very important, even if it's not a monetary incentive or a physical incentive or an extrinsic incentive, if I may say. But we believe our brains work on incentives. So incentives is a very, very important aspect of building a community. If it's not for a specific cause or a specific brand or a soccer team or a football team in the US.
So how has Scarius Thatcher developed or gathered its community or build its audience? Because like you've mentioned, it's important that your audience understands where the raw material is coming from, how it started, and where the product is right now. So how are you able to achieve to gather a large pool of audience?
Well, that was very difficult, extremely difficult, especially in the Middle East, because you still need to convince them why you're selling the product a little bit more expensive than a fast fashion brand. Like if they go to a mall and they buy a T-shirt or buy a sweater or buy something, they would have to pay a little bit more to get our product, and that was very difficult. So we started an online campaign called the Green Room, where we had experts from different fields and from Egypt, from Italy, from other countries that are in different, they're not only in fashion, to talk about the whole idea of why this is important, why climate, why does business have to care about renewable energy, why does fashion, green fashion exist, why are we doing what we're doing, what's the importance of Egyptian cotton, what are the issues with agriculture, what's biodiversity. So we started to talk to people about all of that, and we realized it's almost useless with the Egyptian consumer after all the effort. So the Egyptian consumer, uh, or not the Egyptian per se, but in emotional people in general and people who care about that. If you're gonna say I'm gonna give the money to cancer, you're gonna find 5 billion pounds in your pocket next day, because they're very emotional. They care about the humanity. They think certain things are more important than the environment and all of that. And that's why, in, let's say, in Ramadan or the month of Ramadan, you see all these campaigns that are getting crowdfunding more than entire government's programs. They're getting almost 5 billion Egyptian pounds every Ramadan, or even more, which is incredible, because not you're not going to find that in a lot of countries, because we are very emotional people, and we care about humans more than the environment, because we don't see the value of that. So we have to tap into that and the impact of humans more than the environment. So we also focused with Fashion Revolution Egypt and other campaigns that we did on who's making your clothes, what's happening in their lives, who's Amma Muhammad, who's working on the machine. And that's also part of people, planet, and profit, like I told you about sustainability. So it's not that we're trying to trick the Egyptian consumer. It's part of what we do. These people work in great conditions. They have a cafeteria on the factory, on the farm where they are. They get healthcare. There's a school. There's a nursery for women who are working. So we actually have something that we can market, and it's all true. We're not tricking anyone. So we focused also more in the marketing on the causes behind. So we collaborated with UNHCR, so refugee artists did the work and all of that, which also didn't sit well with a lot of Egyptians, because they say Egyptians awla. We want to pay Egyptians. Why are you giving this to refugees? We have a lot of poor people, stuff like that. So we also collaborated with Nur al Amal, with they would focus on the blind and visually impaired, and we did braille cards. So we are trying to innovate on how to attract people, and then when you bring them on board, you talk about the environment, you talk about why my packaging doesn't have plastic, you talk about that, then they are sold completely, because they see that you're someone who has ethics and values that are respectable, and you're not doing it for the profit, and they can see through it. The consumer is not stupid. They see when you're trying to trick them, and when you're actually genuine. So that's what we did, and now alhamdulillah we have a big consumer base in Egypt, and we're selling abroad as well.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
So again, that traces back to using blockchain to trace, because at the end of the day, as you've mentioned before, you're checking the humane conditions, you're checking the resources, agriculture, everything that's formed. So again, thank you for that.
Thank you.
Husari, we've been here in COP, you've seen different initiatives, and also Ali, I would like your opinion on that. Is there any recommendation or anything that you could give the audience or the initiatives regarding the use of blockchain and sustainability for them to implement to see a bigger impact?
Yeah, of course. Actually, we've been talking to a lot of people here, especially global exhibitors at COP, on introducing blockchain technology, and we found that many people are looking into it, uh, specifically in the manner of traceability and providing extra value in terms of story or traceability for the consumer. So, for example, I don't want to say different stakeholder names, but many of them are interested to learn more, or either they're working on their separate solution to provide more value in terms of story, in terms of traceability, and in terms of um, building on top of this conscious uh, appetite that people want to make sure that if I'm paying the extra money, I'm getting the, Scarabaeus are honest. They actually provide real value. They're taking care of people in the farms and so on. So we've seen a lot of initiatives that are implementing blockchain or looking to implement blockchain. And actually, we're talking with some people, and you instantly see their eyes widen up when they just hear about the applicability of doing this, because people want to do this. But a while back, you asked the question, why are businesses not uh, doing this quickly? Because they still need to learn. They know they want to do it. They know it's possible, but they actually don't know how to do it. It would take them months, if not years, to just understand the technology, the applicability of it, how to use it, and how to build on it. So it might take years for them to do it, but when they hear that you can actually do it in a couple of weeks, they actually decide to move it up into their priority list. Another point on the community building aspect, um, Nitrous Project Nitrous has been uh, in operation for around 5 to 7 years, and this project has a strong community, a very strong community, a community that didn't evolve around incentive as much as it evolved around the cause, which is empowering people with disabilities using technology. So we've reached a very good phase in community building without the need of technology, just technology in the project itself, but without the need of technology in managing the community or building the community. But now we have a different problem in terms of sustainability. And the problem is the problem of organizing community. So we have 50 plus stakeholders, maybe 100 plus stakeholders now, that are working together every single year to uh, empower people with disabilities using technology. We have hundreds, I'm not sure if it's thousands now, but hundreds of beneficiaries that are committed to the cause every single year. We have tens or hundreds of alumni that work as a advisory board and steering committee for the project, and we have donors and others in in the organization that are committed to support this project. But in order to organize this community to scale beyond, now we work in the Middle East, in many places, and in the US, we are planning to start working in the US, and there's no owner for the project. So the project is by nature decentralized. We have some resources, and we allocate some resources to research to identify the best way to organize this community and to grow in a decentralized manner. And maybe I'm biased, but the answer keeps leading us to blockchain. Blockchain will incentivize people and will ensure sustainable pool of employees and beneficiaries that are committed not only for the cause but also for their personal interest. Blockchain will provide a voting mechanism and decentralized governance mechanism that will allow us to take a decision that is produced by every single member of the community, including the beneficiaries, the employees, the donors, ex-employees, the people who worked with me 7 years ago in Boston now. So we keep thinking of ways how we can do this, and we keep ending to a decentralized structure backed by blockchain technology. So not only blockchain can enhance community building using incentives and trust and transparency, but hopefully in the next couple of years we will prove that it will provide incentive and organization for communities to scale to the next level, to scale to thousands and hundred thousands of people working together in real time, to without a executive director, without a donor that provide M&E. So M&E is decentralized, decisions are decentralized, incentives and salaries are decentralized, and feedback and operation is decentralized. So this is what we see as a potential for using blockchain technology in sustainability, and using blockchain technology to put people together and organize communities to change human behavior and change consumer behavior in the long run.
Perfect. So I want to just touch up on what you just mentioned relating to different entities hearing about blockchain technologies but not stepping in because they're not sure how to go about this. So, what would you say to a person that is interested in blockchain technology but doesn't understand where to start? If it's feasible, if it's doable, is it needed? Yeah.
Yeah. I have a funny. Okay, one somebody I respect told me before it takes 100 hours of studying um, to understand what Bitcoin, not blockchain, huh? Bitcoin is all about. So imagine the amount of studying and hard work needed to understand blockchain and its use cases for your specific industry, and actually how to specify it enough to be feasible and profitable. From the other hand, it takes resources, it takes persistence, and it takes a lot of um, student mentality, if I may say. So, well, my only sentence I always say to my team and everybody who I work with: don't feel stupid. We all feel stupid every single day in this space.
Yeah.
So when you feel stupid, understand that this is the process. It will take us uh, hours and hours of studying to understand this new mindset, to change our mindset, to accept decentralization, to accept that people actually can cooperate instead of competing together, because blockchain is all about um bringing people together and allowing them to compete. So this is we are primed to think otherwise. We always have uh, competition in business, value capturing instead of value sharing in business. Now blockchain can make two businesses coexist while sharing their value together. This wasn't possible before. Blockchain is all about transparency. So even like you said, governments and NGOs does not some in some cases want transparency. Blockchain incentivizes transparency, and this is kind of hard on the human brain to understand. So it started with a small sentence, which is not feel stupid, but it all ends up to the same sentence. Just take your time to give your brain some time to grasp the concept of decentralization, and don't get overwhelmed because it's overwhelming. I've been in the space for 8 years now, since 2014, and I keep getting overwhelming every single day. I feel overwhelmed every single day. So it's a process. Um we believe it's disruptive enough to change a lot of things. So patience and
But I just want to add something to what you're saying. Like it's Hausari actually told it to me before coming in. Like you don't have to understand the mechanics and everything that goes into it. Like you said, as long as you understand what the function is for. You don't have to be an expert on how to use the computer and everything inside it, but you know that you use it to type and send emails. So that's the best simplified way to say it, because really it's all about that. You know, this is the role. It's transparency and traceability, how to do it and all of that. There's people who are doing it at the moment that can help you do it. You don't have to do everything yourself and understand every single detail about it. So I think that was a great example, man.
100%.
Thank
Respect.
you so much. I have a couple more questions. I wanted to know. Some might say that being in a centralized environment, um, yes, I might not be leading, but I know how to. My path is paved. However, in a decentralized community, it's a collective effort. So, how could you say or prove that decentralization is more sustainable and can actually impact the environment that we are in compared to what is mostly currently happening right now?
Okay, so I always ask any customer a question every single meeting, first meeting. I always ask them, why do you think blockchain will help you? Because we believe blockchain is not helpful in all cases. Decentralization is not helpful in all cases. So the first question we need to ask ourselves, what use cases does blockchain and decentralization add value to? So when we start from this point, we kind of have a good argument. But some people say decentralization is the only savior, and actually it's not. It helps in specific use cases, but it actually is not the only savior. It's not the only solution. So what I would like people to do is just rethink every single use case before jumping into blockchain and decentralization, and reassess, does it actually need to be decentralized? Many things it's better to be, like you said, centralized, and you see, you have a specific decision maker, you have a specific um, action plan with a paved way, like you said, and others needs to be decentralized. So identifying the use cases that blockchain and decentralization help with is key. I'll give you a couple of them. So one of them, like we said, is community. Others other one is actually climate and fashion and traceability in supply chain. This is a very common one, and it's very obvious. M&E, like you said, and um, a couple of others. So the specific use cases that decentralization will help in, but others, I will advise people to just stay centralized until you realize the real value of decentralization, and try to decentralize a bit by a bit.
Thank you so much. I think we're running out of time. Again, I want to thank everyone for attending and the Federation of Egyptian Industries. I think we could could we have one more question to ask from the audience? Thank you. Please, we can go ahead.
First of all, thank you so much. I definitely feel less stupid by attending this panel discussion. It opened my mind so much on ways to understand not only blockchain, but the idea of decentralization in general and how it's applied in fashion and in sustainability and business. So we have a few questions from the live audience from YouTube. He's an engineer from Lululemon, Toronto, Canada, and he was watching and he have a few questions for you guys. First of all, he's saying great presentation and discussion, very concise from each one of you, very fun to listen to. Thank you for that. So the first question is regarding greenwashing and fast fashion. Other countries are producing at very low prices, and that's the way it has been for a very long time. It's mainly due to the economy of producers' country, where the minimum wages and many other factors are set much lower costs compared to Nike, for example. So the question is, can you elaborate how will blockchain transparency tackle this? And does this mean, as a consumer, I will be able to know how much Nike and similar brands actually cost, and the actual cost for production as well, and the whole supply chain practice? If yes, wouldn't that be challenging for a brand to be unique going forward?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very good question. But the thing is, traditionally, fashion has been very colonialist. The countries that are producing with the cheap labor and the cheap prices, basically, were the countries where colonial countries were in charge of, whether it's India, South America, wherever it is. And the cheap labor is done because of they're actually in horrible working conditions in sweatshops, in lots of things, and they are not trying to be transparent about it. And also, part of this, we didn't define the difference between transparency and traceability, because you can trace your entire supply chain and also not show it to people the reality of how it is. If you have good working conditions and a living wage and getting good health care and all of that costs a lot of money, you will never have super cheap fast fashion clothing that's in horrible quality, that stays for 2 3 months and then it completely dismantles, or it's in bad shape, or it's just trendy. So if the quality of everything that goes into it, from the labor and the fabrics and the materials and everything, you will never see these fast fashion brands. They cannot sustain themselves if they're fully traceable. The whole idea of uniqueness and all of that is absolutely on point, but you have to see what goes into the product, and that's not, in the future, it's not going to be optional anymore if you want to see things as they are.
There's three questions. So the second one is,
I think yeah,
oh, that's
you're
okay.
just cutting
We
us
can
out
follow
of
up on
time.
the discussion
Yes.
afterwards if that's okay.
Thank you everyone for attending. We're very happy, and it was an honor to question you. I had very little knowledge, and you guys gave me a lot of great information. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us and tuning in. Um, Thank you all.
Thank you for your moderation as well. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.